What's going on YouTube? Today we're taking a look at probably one of my favorite Shirogorov knives in terms of the entry point for what you get for your price, for your money. So this, guys, you've probably seen a number of Shiros on the channel already, and if you follow me on Instagram, Bladezilla, you'll see that I like to post a lot various content, and I'll be honest, I tend to err more towards a lot of the Shirogorov stuff. I don't know why, but it's just a really, really cool knife brand, and I definitely dig it. So anyway, guys, let's get into this one. Once again, this is more of a fireside conversation where I talk about the knife, I compare it with a few different knives, and I try to err on the side of giving you more information or more comparison than not enough. So if I apologize if it's a longer video than normal, but that's kind of what I do. So yeah, let's get started on this one. So first and foremost, this guy is called the Shirogorov Quantum Ursus NL, or some places will call it Ursus Quantum NL. And the main takeaway here is that it is a quantum. Quantum being the size of it. And then from there we kind of get into the model families of different variations of the quantum. So in this particular case, we have it as the NL. Okay, and what we'll do, actually, I'll get into the breakdown on it. First things first, in case this is your first Shirogorov video, let's take a look at the size of this. So we are coming in at 8 3/4 roughly, depending on which side you measured on and what day of the week you're squinting. But I'd say 8 3/4, right around there overall length. Blade wise, it's supposed to be at about 4 inches, which I believe on the sharpened side, let's take a look. Yeah, maybe a little bit under 4 inches. I think on paper they say it's like 3.74 inch sharpened, which I think is like 95 mil if I remember correctly. It's a metric versus imperial conversion, which is cool. But this guy is the Chromax. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but Shirogorov was doing some of these knives in LMAX, especially on the neons. And I don't know if they did on the Quantum, if they've always done Chromax, but think of Chromax versus LMAX as kind of, a little step up. Not a huge step, but like, LMAX on steroids, but just a little bit of steroids, not like Arnold Schwarzenegger amounts. So it's just a little bit nicer all around. Now, when we talk about this knife, okay, what are we comparing it with? When I say this is $625 US MSRP, or in Canada, I think I have them in the store for, I want to say right around $1,000. There's a bit of a discrepancy there, I know, but it's based on import costs. Taxes and whatnot, but I want to say let's just say right around $1,000 Canadian for this guy. They offer it in a couple different colors, and for the value that you're getting on this, okay, if you look at this and you compare it with, say, the G10 Quantum, which is $25 less MSRP, okay, this guy is probably its main competitor. And you'd say, okay, Mitch, why is it its main competitor? Well, I'll tell you. After I mute my phone, I apologize about that. So the main thing here is full titanium versus G10 on the entire handle, okay? Now, $25 difference, you go, oh, okay, like $25 more, you get a full tie handle. Wow, what a bargain. Not necessarily. They are the same all around, other than this guy being the Quantum, is on multi-row bearings, which is traditionally their higher end, or I shouldn't say higher end. all of Shirogorov's bearings are high-end, even their single row bearings, which is on this. It is a very traditional bearing in that you have a bearing track with a circular bearing pattern. That's what's on this. So if you say, oh, it runs on bearings on most knives, that's the style of bearing that it'll be on. Now there will be variances and discrepancies on the type of metal in the bearing, whether it's steel, whether it's ceramic, whether it's coated, what type of grease is in there, what type of material the track is on. There's all kinds of different variations of that, which is cool. But in this case, it's, I believe, steel on steel, single row bearings. Now, this has multi-row bearings. So think of it as like, instead of one bearing in the track, it is 3 at a pinwheel angle. Okay, so there are some benefits. There are also some drawbacks. Some people just see the price tag and assume it's better. Myself, I actually really like single row bearings, and I feel like there's less resistance and they feel great. No issues. They're drop shutty and controlled, and I love it. Okay, that's the bearing you're getting on this. So for $25 more, essentially you're going from a G10 handle. That's, you know, it's a lighter weight knife. Let's not kid ourselves here. And you go into a heavier, I don't want to say better made knife, because it feels the same. It just feels, in hand, it just feels heavier duty because it's titanium instead of G10. Now, so that's kind of the main difference here. Let's be honest. So you go from multi-row bearings on this guy to single row bearings on this guy for $25 more, plus you get the full titanium handle. If we look on the back, oh, almost picked the wrong side of that up. No wonder I'm wearing Band-Aids, eh? If you look on the back, they're practically identical. There's not a whole lot of difference here. Same blade material, same lock bar material as far as I'm aware, unless something's changed. Same clip. It's very, very well made knife all around. Now, if we are looking actually at the G10 on the actual handle material itself, I had somebody point this out, and I always assumed these were the same, but one actually looks more carbon fibery than G10-y. Now, I don't know what that is about, but I definitely feel like the Ursus NL, that's what I'm going to refer to this guy as, and no, I don't know what NL stands for. It's probably some Russian phrase that's pretty goofy, which is cool, but to me, there's not a whole lot of difference in the material feel-wise and fit and finish. It's just, this guy looks just a little bit more carbony, which is nice. It's a nice little touch. So you can kind of see that. Okay, and hopefully the camera is going to pick that up, but otherwise, you know what? I'm doing my best here. So, yeah. Now, in terms of the handle itself, yes, obviously the full tie one has a little bit of G10 on the front side, which is cool. If I was picking any knife in the Shiro lineup to carry as a daily, it would probably be this one. You could actually, I originally got this one as a carry one, but I'll be honest, at both models being so close in price, it's just cool to have both. This one, the Quantum, is just way lighter in pocket, whereas the full tie is just more solid, I'd say. It feels more like a Shirogorov in the hand. Ergo-wise, they're identical. They have the same blade, same chromax, same jimping even, as you can kind of see. Same materials for the back spacer. They both have this, I don't know what they call that, but like the triple, I don't know if the camera's gonna even focus, it's pretty deep. It's like that triple little pin on the handle there, which is nice. Now how they do that, I should probably get this into it. Why they do that and how they do that is it's to fit more blade in the handle without going to a full back spacer where you can kind of form around the fit and finish of the handle. So that is actually a really cool feature in that they do that, because it allows you to get a 4-inch blade into a knife that maybe should be a little bit bigger. Okay. Now, so I've talked to you about the multi-row bearing. on this being the pinwheel, the single row bearing on this being a standard bearing. Now, what else can we kind of talk about here as we kind of go up the line in terms of pricing? Well, when you kind of blend the two of these together, you get this, which is Recon 1's exclusive textured pattern, which is a laser anode version, and it's let's say about 625. I think this one was 780, so about $150 more, and it kind of blends the two of these together. So you get multi-row bearings, you get the same blade, full titanium with no G10. And to show you that, maybe I'll flip it over and show you on this side, just to kind of give you an idea of the clips. It's very, very similar, if not identical, other than the pivot is larger. And that pivot is really cool. This knife, I've done a video on it in another one. I hope they start pumping volume on this so that I can actually get one for myself and start carrying it, because this would be the ultimate carry, because you kind of get the really good value and features and benefits without kind of going overboard. So here we go. Like I said, we started at the G10, went up to full titanium with a G10, multi-row down to single row, keeping costs, where they need to be. You blend the two of those together, you get this. Okay. Now, when you go up one more in the Quantum line, you gotta get this. This is the Quantum Gen 2. Super nice knife. And with that, you get a substantial jump in price. So for here, you get, you get the oversized pivot, you get a lot more machine work, just fit and finish is overall that much more beautiful. You get an M390 blade instead of the Chromax, as it says here. The camera keeps wanting to focus on the background. So you get a 390 blade, that oversized. It's just overall, they've put more work, more time, more machine work into it, and with that comes a cost. So for this guy, it's another, I want to say 300 or so, and with that, you get that backspacer. Instead of, remember earlier I talked about how it had that 3-pin system on the other knife? So if we compare them, if the camera wants to focus, you get a backspacer here. So that's how they kind of fit blade in that way. So if you're asking me, which knife is right for me? Okay, it depends what kind of person you are. For me, myself, I'm testing the waters right now on some knives in the custom division. And, I see that as something that's going to sit in my knife case. I'm going to flick and I'm going to look at, I'm going to admire it. And it's going to be really, really cool for me. And I'm going to really enjoy it. And, if I have that kind of money tied up into a custom division knife, I'll want something a little on the lower end of the production side. That might be my EDC knife. And if I was looking at that, maybe I wouldn't carry a Gen 2. Because, you know what, like, it's super nice. But, for double the price of this, you're getting into custom division territory. Not on the new market, but on the used market. You're kind of getting in that. So this is, I think, $1150 US. In the 2,000 to 3,000 range is kind of where you start to get into the custom division territory. And those knives are, if we look at the same jump from each generation up, it would be another, not correlational or exact jump in terms of quality or features, but just fit and finish. It's at the same type of level. And give me, by the time you're seeing this, I might have one, but you guys will be the first to know, trust me, I'll be throwing it up all over. So that is the Quantum Gen 2. Super, super cool knife. I'll have to do a video on that. I don't think I have already. And then I should also say this. I'll kind of put one more knife in between this category. This guy is the Monkey Edge. So the Monkey Edge exclusive kind of went a different direction with their exclusivity. They went for full tie, but they stuck with the the single row bearings that are in the Ursus NL. just because, you know, it keeps the cost down. And this one's, once again, kind of in between here. A little more rare, I think. But, you know, cost-wise, $730, I believe. $780, $730, $625, $600. So it kind of depends, you know, the features and benefits, what you want. If you want, you know, a machined handle versus a G10 inlay versus laser etched, big pivot versus, you know, standard pivot versus single row bearing versus multi-row bearing. But, you know, my ADHD is kind of getting the best of me here, and I certainly do not to be going over different comparisons for 10 minutes like I have been, so I apologize. We're talking about this knife. And this is the knife I have up in the store. And this is the knife that, you know what, if I'm just getting into Shirogorov and I want to try out the line, I want to have good retained value on the knife itself. I want it to last long. I want it to have that durability factor. I don't want it to wear out. I don't want it to, you know, stress me out carrying it. Because a lot of, you remember, this is essentially a Chris Reeve Sebenza, like a nice Sebenza. You're in that same price range, so it's not unattainable. If, you know, a lot of guys, they've got, you know, 20, 30, 40 knives, and they say, I can't afford a Shirogorov. And I go, you certainly can, you know, sell 3 and then there's a Shiro. If you want it, you'll find a way to get it. So, talking about this knife. So let's kind of drill into some of the specifics. Okay, so it's a stone-washed steel, obviously, titanium, with that G10, which is awesome. So I believe you can get this in like an orange. I think they have it in a green, and there might be another color on the inlay. Personally, I'm a fan of the black. I think it looks classy. It's timeless. If you're going to take the knife hunting, you know what? Maybe you want orange. Maybe you want something that just, you know, stands out loud. And if you drop it in the woods, it's going to, you know, stand out louder than the environment. You know, if I drop a black knife into, you know, shrubs and grass, it's probably going to be a little harder to find versus something with bright orange on it, which is cool. So the features. I keep going on. Man, oh man, I'm sorry. So you've got this real nice cutout here for the flipper tab, and I'll fire this out a few times. Mind you, this knife is brand new, and it's not nearly as smooth as, say, my Monkey Edge version, but they definitely break in and wear in over time. So I'll fire this out. I've got a mic in the bottom left. You can kind of see it here in the corner, and if it picks up on it, great. So let's fire this guy out a few times. If I can get my hand on the back here. Real nice feel. Very drop shutty. Real nice. And the other thing that I really like about this too, about Shirogorov, so, and I'll do some more opens here. When you have this lock bar, and you know, it's a frame lock. So when you're putting weight on the frame, it's going to push into the blade, right? So it's going to be harder to fire that knife out. And what I love is that they take this pocket clip and they angle it so that the resting point on it is on top of the frame rather than the lock bar. It makes such a big difference. It's such a small detail, but it makes such a big difference. The other thing, the inlays. When you're holding this in your hand, and this is hard to show because I'm kind of wrapped around a tripod here. When you're holding this in your hand and you feel the inlays on the back of the knife, you know you're not resting your hand on the lock bar, and you know that you're not putting any pressure. So when I have this one particularly in my hand, or the same with the G10 version, the Quantum, when I put it in my hand, and if I feel the G10, if I feel that I'm on it, I know it's going to fire out. Because if I'm holding it from here and there, right, I'm not putting any pressure on the frame, I know that that's enough perch to fire this guy out. Like, it's that simple. And the more you use this knife, the easier that's going to be to shoot out. So I'll do this a few times. Same with resting your hand on the clip. So if you're holding it on the clip like so, with a couple fingers, I'm sorry, my fingers are like cut right up. It's almost like I play with knives all day. But if you're resting your hand on the clip with a couple fingers, you know that when you put pressure on the flipper, it's going to come out. And the other thing, I should also preface this by saying I have a cut right on my hand here. I front flipped a knife, and it is right where I use the flipper. So I'm not confident right now. My flips aren't as good as they usually are, and I apologize about that. But it actually hurts to use, so I'm not doing it a ton. But let's get a couple out, just so you guys can hear it on that bottom mic there. Oh yeah, how's that sound? Oh yeah, should sound good. I can see it picking up on the mic, so yeah, that should sound good, hopefully. In terms of the ergonomics, like I was saying there, if I want to, there we go, sorry, not shoot it into a cutting board. Yeah, so we've got this nice little spot here to rest your thumb. So if we're holding this, you can kind of see when you actually fire this guy out. Hopefully you can see that. And I'll hold the blade. So when you push this down on the flipper tab, your finger rests right into that cutout, which is nice. It's a nice little feature, and anchors it so that you can hold the knife. It's not going to drop. It's just one of those nice features. It's well thought out, and it's such a classic design. People love these things, and they're not going to go changing this overnight. Some smooth jimping, beautiful blades, obviously, super classic. Ergos, I've got XL hands, and you can kind of see there's still room for that lanyard hole. I'm not a big lanyard guy, although I've been told that I should get some lanyard beads in the store. We'll see if that happens, but yeah, it hides it in there quite nicely. If you're into that, it certainly gives you the option to utilize it, which is awesome. You know, the G10, you know, when I first saw this, I was expecting it to be a little thicker, sticking out of the handle. I was like, it might go away from the core feel of the knife. And I can honestly say that it doesn't at all. It's very well put in. It's still on top of the material, but it's not sticking out like say my Carta on a Sebenza, if I can find one here. There we go. So if you look at like a Sebenza, here's a small, if it wants to focus, you can see how much that sticks out, and that essentially makes the handle feel thicker than it is. Yeah, this is not like that. This is very smooth, very flush. I shouldn't use the word flush. It's very thin and well thought out. So really cool. What else can I talk about on this guy? So it has the lock bar interface. That's a different material as well, which is always nice. Hopefully the camera can pick that. Maybe I'll zoom in to show you guys that a little bit. You can kind of see. So you're not going to get lock stick. It is replaceable. I don't know if you do want to use this knife, you know, very heavy duty-esque. You know, you certainly can. And know that you're not going to get any lock stick. It is also, out of the box, not recommended that you squeeze this knife. Some people do that. I don't know why, but you shouldn't be squeezing the pressure down the lock bar. You're going to end up gouging it. And maybe that's because some people think that, you know, I think it's like a 10-15% lockup. You're actually missing quite a bit. It just looks that way because of the angling on it, but it's actually quite a bit more. Oh yeah, beautiful knife. Okay, so we've kind of talked about the blade. We've talked about the flipper tab and how it, you know, when you put pressure on the back, it's super easy to shoot out. It's just a great feeling knife. I love the ergonomics on it. I love the machining work, and there are some details here on the handle that you might not even see along this little wave here. There's actually like 3 or 4 steps of of machining work that's very subtle, but it's just like these little details, right? It's like buying a suit and, you know, coloring the stitching on your lapel. It's just that little detail that is just so cool on Shirogorov knives. And then obviously on the back side here underneath the clip, you can see it's all machined out beautifully. There's a reason these, you know, they're kind of the gold standard right now in production knives in the world. There's less of them in the wild as well, which I think is super cool when you're, you know, trying to meet buddies and stuff, and, you know, you're rocking a Shiro, they're rocking a Chris Reeves, and it just has some unique factor to it, which is really, really cool, and I dig it. Hardware, obviously, you know, they do make a proprietary tool for this. It's a flathead, which is fine, but you know, people who use screwdrivers on these, just remember that the softness of the material, you'll tend to gouge these up. If you want something softer, you know, just use I don't recommend, but you can just, you know, use a penny or something, because it's a softer material, like on a hinderer. I've done that in the past. Don't recommend it, but you could always use even a credit card, you know, fold it over and use that. You know, these pivots they're harder to find. I know they're starting to get more available, but it's just not a road that you really want to go down. So, yeah. What else here, guys? So we talked about the machine work. Beautiful, beautiful. I don't think this guy has a ton of machining on the inside of it. And I'll grab my little light. That might be something that the Gen 2 has done a little bit better of a job at, because remember we talked about time and money of machine working. Let's see if they can bounce some light around in there. You guys see anything? I don't think, I'm just looking at it now. No, it's pretty bald. No, there's a little bit. Very little bit on the actual pocket clip side. So the non-show side, there's a little bit of machine work. I'm trying to do two things at once here by getting the camera to focus and have light shine in. So there we go. Not a whole lot, whereas if we look inside the Gen 2, it's oh yeah, it's a whole different ball game on the inside of this guy. So there's a little bit more material taken out of that one, which is cool, but you pay for that. And remember the detail work we were chatting about? That's one of those details that, you know what, when you're pumping out probably, I can't guess, but you know, probably 5 to 1, I'd say. They're probably selling these, maybe 4 to 1 versus the Gen 2s. You know what, these are the little details that don't necessarily need, which is why, for me, this would be probably my EDC. If I had some money sunk into a custom division knife, this is more than what you need. Full titanium, single roll bearings, which is super reliable. You're not going to have any problems with any of them. Great width on the blade. Chromax PM is great. You're honestly not going to have any problems with this guy at all. It just looks great. The fall shuttiness, technical term, fall shuttiness, is great. You know, well controlled. And I always say that with these knives, you know, when it's here, you can show the angle of the camera. When the knife doesn't have any weight on the blade, it shouldn't fall down. It shouldn't drop shut, which is kind of what you can see here. Like it'll hold itself like this as we go down. It'll hold itself, no touching. But if you want to give it a little shake, it'll go down, and it doesn't bounce. That's the other thing. It doesn't bounce out. Super critical. If it bounces out, you know, things can go back in, and before you know it, you're wearing Band-Aids. Not that I know. So, there you go. Okay, guys. Well, I think we're at almost half an hour. Oh my goodness. So I think I'm going to wrap things up there on this. To summarize, it's a great knife, full titanium inlays, single roll bearings, which super reliable. It's kind of their, I don't want to say it's like their working class knife, but if it's something that you can use, beat up, you know, it's going to keep coming back for more. It's so well made. It's got really good resale value as well. Awesome centering, obviously, like all the Shirogorovs. It's just, my God, it's just a home run of a knife. Like every Shirogorov here, you can call me a homer. I'm Canadian, guys. Okay, I'm Canadian, and here I am talking about Russian knives, being some of the gold standards for production knives. So, you know what? It's I'm not biased. I think they're absolutely terrific. The quality's through the roof. The materials they use is just awesome. I'd love to see them kind of start doing some cool special editions, maybe with some Vanics. That'd be awesome. It's definitely a material I'd like to see more of. And a lot of people weren't really aware of it till Shiro started using it, which is cool. So yeah, great, absolutely great knife. Oh, it fits like a glove. And nice detent, nice and smooth. Just a terrific looking knife. Great. Another thing that I didn't really mention here is actually on the lock bar. They've done machine work for your finger, for your thumb, and it actually, if the camera wants to look at this, it actually sticks up just a little bit, which it's not currently wanting to cooperate, but yeah, look at how it's like angled in there. It just fits, like there's no hot spots. It's just so well thought out and so refined, and they've done such a good job of that. Really good. You know what, if you guys haven't been able to try out a Shirogorov, if your buddies have one, definitely hit them up. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you taking a look, and if you have any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, and we'll be in touch. Alright guys, cheers. Talk to you later.